Hey, welcome into the Stinkin Truth podcast. For everybody involved, we thank you so much for being a part of us. You continue to subscribe and we continue to grow. We thank you for that. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, whatever you celebrate, man. It is just all for us, from us to you. We just wish you nothing but blessings for this holiday season and beyond. Mike Evans, Mark Schlereth here with you. Guys, Mike, how are you?
I am doing great, Mark. It is so good to be on here. We got a Christmas week ahead of us. And, depending on when you're watching this, during the course of the week, we hope everyone's having a great holiday. But looking forward to NFL football on Christmas Day, Wednesday. And I just can't help but laugh at the way that the NFL just continues to flex their muscles, right? Hey, college football, you want to come out with a playoff? Okay, we'll put some games on right up against your college football playoff games and we'll get better ratings than you. Or, hey, NBA, you have cultivated for years the idea that Christmas Day is your day. It's almost like the unofficial start of the NBA season. And all it took was like 1 year for the NFL to say, yeah, I think we'll take that as well. Whatever they want, they take.
Yeah, I don't know what size Roger Goodell wears shoe-wise, but it is gigantic. That's Commissioner Bigfoot, and we're going to step on you right now because you know what? Ultimately, we can. And we might as well take it all, right? Like, and we're just going to take it all because we can take it all. And it is interesting, college football, the playoff, head-to-head. There used to be a time when the NFL was, they would defer out of respect. Just out of pure respect, like we don't want to, step on anybody's toes. And that's the NBA's day, or that's college football day. And, when college football would be out during, Saturdays and their season would end, it was waiting for bowl season, then they trickle in some games on Saturdays, but they wouldn't go head to head with college football. Now they're just like, screw it. There's nobody that can touch us. We are Teflon. Nobody can play with us. We will just thunder punch you guys and knock you out of the picture. And, they did it. Of course, the Saturday games going head-to-head against the college football games, which one dominated the ratings? Oh, that would be the NFL games. They dominated the ratings. And, like, right now, the NFL knows we are the king, and we're going to go ahead and expand our territory. That's what we're going to do. And they have done it, and they're unapologetic for it.
So let's take a look at, what's coming up and some of the storylines that are going on right now. Are the Kansas City Chiefs, Mark, starting to awaken from their slumber, awaken from their hibernation? Are they starting to get that sniff? They can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and now they're starting to look like the Chiefs again? And by the way, even winning all the way along when they didn't look like the Chiefs, but now winning and looking like the Chiefs.
Yeah, they're 14-1, and all of a sudden, hey, Patrick Mahomes has an ankle injury. Woohoo, maybe we got a chance. No, he scrambles for 15 yards on the opening drive, runs over a couple guys in the end zone, touchdown Chiefs. And, it's over. Like, that's the way it goes. Now, all of a sudden, what we've talked about, their inability to really kind of figure out their passing game. Now Worthy catches a touchdown. DeAndre Hopkins looks like he's a third down kind of conversion guy, getting first downs. And then, oh, by the way, Hollywood Brown shows up. Now, all of a sudden, offensively, they look like they're starting to click. They get Pacheco back from the injury. He's been pretty good the last couple of weeks. So all these things that we thought, all these things that they couldn't quite figure out, all these like lack of production on the offensive side of the ball and all that stuff, all that just seems to be going away right now. And here we are, the Chiefs being the Chiefs, kind of doing what they do toward the end of the season and reestablishing themselves, albeit they were going into this weekend, they're 13-1. Like you mentioned, they come out 14-1, and all of a sudden I have to say, looks like the Chiefs are ready to three-peat. Looks like the Chiefs are the best team in football. I've been avoiding it since week one. I've said since week one, it's Detroit, it's Detroit, it's Detroit. And then all of a sudden Detroit has all these defensive injuries. And I'm like, it's Philly. They're the best team in football. And meanwhile, the Chiefs just continue to run roughshod through people. And, and then, of course, they get every break. Every single break goes to the Chiefs. It doesn't. I mean, they got ball boys. Go timeout, timeout. Andy Reid, when you get down here, I already called the timeout for you. So you just take your time, Andy. As Andy's just trotting along. Ball boys is going timeout, ref, timeout. Andy couldn't get here. I took over for him.
Right.
Like, it's just insane. It's insane. And I say that kind of in jest, but I tell you what, they are just so damn good. It's just irritating to me. That's all.
We saw last week, you really laid it out, the problems that Baltimore's had, the matchup nightmares that Baltimore's had with Pittsburgh. Now that they got the win the way that they did the other day, is that kind of like, okay, exhale, we're kind of past that, and now maybe Baltimore looks at themselves as we're ready to roll right now. We're on the other side. Maybe Pittsburgh is perhaps starting to, question themselves a little bit.
Yeah. I would say this about the Baltimore Ravens. There is nobody that matches up with the Baltimore Ravens when they play Raven football.
Yep.
And what I mean by that is when they're running the ball with the threat of Lamar keeping it, they're impossible, because a couple things happen to you. One, Derrick Henry is 6'3", 250 plus pounds, and can outrun any DB you have on the field. Like, that's not human. He's just not. So you've got this bruising, just punishing runner that also can run away from you. So he's a home run threat every time he touches the ball. And he's incredible that way. Then all of a sudden you got Lamar, and just the threat of Lamar pulling it and attacking the edge creates this lack of pursuit on your defense, edge presence. So whichever way Lamar sits, that side of the football field can't constrict the run. So the cutback lanes are always going to be a little bit more open for Derrick Henry than they would for other backs with quarterbacks who can't run the ball. Look at like Jahmyr Gibbs, for instance, in Detroit. Goff is no threat of running the ball. So that backside of a defense gets to constrict, it gets to come flying down and basically eliminate a lot of the cutback stuff that you get into if you're Baltimore. So you've got that. Then if Lamar does pull it and attacks the defense, come on. That guy is an athlete that makes varsity players on the opponent's defense look like JV players. He is such an extremely gifted, unbelievably blessed athlete that he can make NFL DBs look like they're not really part of the NFL. It's ridiculous when you watch him. And then ultimately the last thing is when you go into a game plan, what you end up saying is, man, we got to stop this running game. So we're going to have to commit extra guys to stop the running game, which means what? Every time you drop back to pass, you're getting one-on-one on the outside. So you're getting these one-on-one matchups that very few other teams get. And, it's twofold. One, you should be able to beat with that running game some one-on-one coverage. So your receivers should be able to beat that, which is awesome, okay? And then ultimately after that, you talk about that. So it's not only that you can beat the one-on-one coverage, that you're getting the one-on-one coverage, but when you break the huddle and you're running the ball well, from a quarterback standpoint, hey, man, I don't care if they show too high safety. You know what they're getting into? Single high, meaning what? I got free access on the outside. And it's pretty close to 100% of the time. So it really eliminates a lot of your post-snap reads that you have to have. You know what you're getting. If I'm running the ball well, I know what I'm getting.
For Pittsburgh, this game with the Chiefs on Christmas Day at home, is this starting to become must-win category for them?
Yeah, it does kind of feel like it, right? It does feel like if Pittsburgh doesn't win this, I've already thought, or at least said last week that, the Ravens are going to win this game, and then ultimately it's going to be one of these situations where I think they win the AFC North. And like right now you come out of that thing and, Pittsburgh's had Philly, they lost to Philly, they lost to Baltimore, but, they lose to Baltimore, that game is a lot closer than the 34-17 score would indicate. I mean, you got Russell fumbling the ball as he's, attacking the goal line, running the ball, and then that last throw off the little boot keep game that gets picked off by Humphrey for a touchdown, like a couple of bad plays, and you're playing that game tight. So anyhow, but if you lose this game, then you would have lost 3 games in a row. Mm-hmm. And I really don't know, does anybody out there in their right mind truly feel like Pittsburgh, as good a story as it is, and as good as Mike Tomlin has done coaching, and the decision that he had to make going from a 4-2 Justin Fields to a Russ, does anybody feel like they've got a legitimate chance to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl? Mike, I guess my answer to you would be no. I don't think anybody felt like that before this game. I think certainly nobody feels like that after this game.
Buffalo had to fight and claw and scratch just to get past New England at home. Is that a red flag in any way, or is that, hey, you talk about, you can't play all 17 games of a season on adrenaline. There are going to be some days where it's just not there. And maybe it's a sign of how good a team is that when they don't have it, they're still able to flip that switch and take care of business and move on.
Well, I mean, Buffalo already watched the Saturday game, right? So they saw Kansas City handle the Texans, right? So you already know they're 14-1. Your odds are very slim that you're going to catch the Chiefs as the number 1 overall seed. So then what do you start playing? Well, you start playing on, hey, man, we got to work on our stuff, but we don't want to show teams other stuff. It's a real kind of screwy position the Buffalo Bills are in. So I'll take you back to my career in 1998, playing for the Denver Broncos. We start the season 13-0. And so going undefeated is certainly not anything we talked about before the season started. But, you hear the whispers of going undefeated. So we drop a game in New York to the Giants. All right, boom, that talk is over, right? So now there's this strange management of we don't want to show teams anything, right? We still want to play. We want to work on our stuff, but we don't want to show anybody anything.
Right.
So we take a trip to Miami and get our ass kicked. I mean, it was, I don't know what the score was, 24-16 or something like that. Whatever it was, I don't remember the score. What I do remember was the game plan. The game plan was as vanilla as it could possibly be. The only thing we ran 3-jet protection, which was a turn strong to the right. That's it. And like they pretty much handled us. We ran 3 or 4 plays, running the ball, and we ran 1 protection, different route combination stuff. But we showed the Miami Dolphins nothing. And at the end of the day, they beat us in Miami. And there was a lot of talk about Miami, having our number, and Miami going to be a tough matchup for the Broncos and this, that, and the other, and all that stuff, right? All that. Guess what? They come to play us in the divisional round of the playoffs. We beat their ass 38-3. And we walked out of that game in Miami going, dude, this was not fair. Like what you had us do was just not right. So, and plus we had lost the game, so all that adrenaline had kind of worn off. You're playing a crappy New England team that you could probably sleepwalk through and still win a game. This is a real weird position for Buffalo because they're basically trying. They're trying to win. They're trying to execute, but at the same time, they're trying not to show anything. It's just a really screwy position. And knowing, man, we're playing this New England team that we could win. Like we roll out of bed and beat the New England Patriots. And so I don't put a lot into a close game. I don't go, oh, wow, radar or upset alert. Man, the Bills didn't look good. I basically throw all that out the window. This is just one of those. This is one of those things that they really weren't. They weren't really, too excited to play that game. I would assume.
One more AFC thread to kind of go down here because of who you are and who you played for. A lot of Bronco fans tune into this podcast. what would be your advice or your message to Bronco fans about how confident they should be in the Broncos able to go out and clinch a playoff berth on their own rather than waiting for somebody else to do the dirty work for them? They get a Cincinnati team this Saturday, and he won't win the MVP because of the Bengals record. But is there any hotter quarterback in the NFL right now than Joe Burrow?
No, winning you're in, right? For the Broncos, winning you're in. Listen, man, I'm doing the Arizona Cardinals versus Carolina Panthers last week, and talking to Kyler Murray, and we're talking about their playoff hopes, and and obviously the Rams won, they lost, means they got bounced out of the playoff contention. But this is on Saturday before the game. He's like, and we're just talking about playoffs in general. He goes, how in the world are Cincinnati? How are the Bengals still alive for the playoffs? Like how is this happening? And that's because of Joe Burrow. That's why they're still alive. Joe Burrow's been absolutely unbelievable, all balls, no question about it. But for the Broncos, listen, you're going to have to win a shootout. And can Bo Nix win a shootout against Joe Burrow? And I will tell you this, really interesting that the Broncos have really kind of, their whole team has been predicated on them winning football games based on how good their defense is, and their defense has been exceptional. Last couple of weeks, they've kind of started leaking oil a little bit, and they've lost a couple of guys. Riley Moss, their outstanding cornerback, has been out, and they've been exposed in the back end a little bit, and and that all that stuff is true, Mike. This is going to be a tall test because, listen, and the Bengals don't protect their quarterback very well. It doesn't matter. Like, he still makes plays. He gets sacked a lot. He gets hit a lot. They put everything on his shoulders. Go out and win a game for us. Doesn't really matter. He just goes out and he just wins. That's what he does. He's hanging 30 on you. So I don't care how good your defense is. He's going to hang 30 on you. So the Broncos are going to have to hang 31. They got to win. They got to score at least 30, 31, 32, something like that, 34 points. That's what they're going to have to do. Do you trust Bo Nix to be able to do that? And, we're going to find out. We're going to find out. Like, I'm nervous about this game because ultimately I know what Burrow is. I know how good Burrow is. And I know that the Broncos can't run the football. And maybe this is the game they rectify that. But right now there's a three-headed monster at the running back position that, that monster's not scaring anybody. It's like one of those monsters from, Monsters, Inc. or maybe Sesame Street monster. It just doesn't really, it's not really very threatening. So I think that Bo Nix has got to run the ball more. I think there's got to be more designed quarterback run for the Denver Broncos. And I'm going to need to see this defense really get back to their form from earlier in the season. Pressuring the quarterback, getting him on the ground. They pressured Justin Herbert last week. He just made them miss and made big-time throws in that second half. They cost the Broncos that game after leading 21-13 at half.
Let's move over to the NFC. A lot of good storylines there as well. The reports of the Detroit Lions' demise. Were those premature, or do we still have to be leery? After all, it was the Bears.
Yeah, I think you're still a little bit leery with Detroit defensively and all the injuries they had. And remember, they gave up a couple of big throws over the top, a couple of big plays defensively, a couple touchdowns. Keenan Allen had one over the top. They had a couple of big plays. So it still frightens me a little bit with Detroit because their defense is still questionable with all the injuries they've had. But, boy, I tell you what, that offense and the way they can beat you with that offense, and then to have the fake fumble-rooski play, right? Come on. Ben Johnson, come on, really? Yeah. Most teams, isn't it funny how Detroit is? Because most teams that are starting to fake fumble it and throw a touchdown to their tight end, you're going, all right, now you're just being a dick. Right, you guys got a big lead. Right. Now you're just being a real dick.
Right.
But with Detroit, you're just like, man, that's awesome.
Right.
These guys are really good.
Right.
And the other thing is you kind of give them a hall pass, right? They've got a hall pass because they've got 16 guys on defense that are on IR. So you're like, I understand you guys got to run it up. You got to beat teams, with offensive wizardry, if you will. And I love the post-game press conference that Jared Goff gave when he said, initially Ben goes, hey, do you think you could fumble it and pick it back up? And Jared Goff's like, I don't think that's a good idea. Like, how much of a mad scientist are you as an offensive play caller when you say, here's my idea. Okay, we're going to take the snap. I want you to fumble it in such a way that you can pick it back up because I think that'll really sell it. And then we're going to throw it over the top. And it's so funny because initially when Gibbs falls down, it's like, oh, it's shocking. You see it. And then they rewind it 3 times. And he's like doing a barrel roll from kindergarten when you practice stop, drop, and roll. Remember all the back in our day, it was like, if there's a fire, you stop, drop, and roll. And you all lined up and you fell down and you rolled around a little bit like we're on fire. It was like that was exactly what they were doing, the stop, drop, and roll drill. And they're just so much fun, man. They are so much fun. And I saw – one of the things that, Williams, their wide receiver, Jameson Williams, he gets a personal foul or something. Dan Campbell's over on the sideline, talking to him, going, hey, man, let's get your head in the game. Come on, we need you, da-da-da-da. Next series, big play over the top, long touchdown, 60, 70 yards, whatever it was. They are by far the most fun team in the NFL, and I think there's part of us, every one of us, that's rooting for them to get off the no Super Bowl schneid.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about. Can you imagine if like Belichick and Brady at the heart of the Patriots run did a play like that? People would be losing their minds. Oh, you suck. We hate you.
Dude, I remember it when they were going through the Up Yours tour. I think it was the 2007 season, right, where they're trying to lay it on everybody. And Joe Gibbs had come back to Washington. It was the Redskins at the time. And, he makes this he leaves NASCAR to come back and coach the Redskins. And they're blowing out Joe Gibbs. And it's like a 4th down and 1, and there's very little time left on the clock. And this is your prototypical, you just kneel on it, you use some class, and you walk out with a big blowout victory. And Bill Belichick calls a play and they score. And I was working for ESPN at the time, and I was freaking livid at the low class, no class, Bill Belichick bullshit. Like, I was pissed. And it is it is one of those things where you're just so mad. And I was so angry. And then Bill Belichick had the audacity, the balls to come out in the post-game press conference and go, hey, it was 4th down and we were just giving them an opportunity to stop us. And I'm like, up yours, Bill Belichick. And ultimately, you look at what Detroit's doing. They're kind of doing the same thing right now. They're like, woohoo, let's go. Yeah. Let's go, Ben Johnson. I love it.
What's the bigger takeaway? The fact that the Eagles couldn't close that game out and lost? Or is it, hey, Washington showed me a lot that makes me think if they could get into the playoffs, they're going to be a real dangerous out?
Well, one, Jayden Daniels. I mean, rookie of the year, right? After that game?
Yep.
It's done.
Yep.
Forget about it. Stick a fork in it. 5 touchdowns, 81 yards rushing. I mean, the guy was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And, we were talking about it on Breakfast Ball. One of 4 quarterbacks to ever have 5 touchdown passes and, oh, by the way, over 80 yards rushing. It was Cam Newton, Lamar Jackson twice, and now Jayden Daniels. In the history of the NFL, that's it. And by the way, one of 2 guys to ever bring his team back in the 4th quarter with a 4th quarter drive for a touchdown, he and Cam Newton. So what he's doing right now is incredible. And then you think about this, Mike. Like it's kind of twofold, if you will, because if the season were to end today, Washington would go back to Philly to play the Eagles.
Okay.
All right. 11 plays after the game starts, Jalen Hurts goes out with a concussion. I mean, I felt like Philadelphia was going to dog walk them at that point, and all of a sudden it got tight. They had over 200 yards rushing, Philadelphia did, possessed the ball for over 36 minutes, created 5 turnovers on the defensive side of the ball, and found a way to lose because Jayden Daniels went straight Superman on him. It's a ridiculous stat line. It's one of those games that doesn't make any sense. And it's one of those games that I think we looked it up today. I think it's happened where you've rushed for over 200 yards and created 5 turnovers and lost. In, I think, about 230 games, it's happened 5 times in the history of the NFL. So it's one of those outlier games. And, as cool as it is to sit here and say, hey, as long as you got Jayden Daniels, you got a chance. And you're right, the guy is special. But I'll tell you this, if you're Philadelphia and you walk away from that game on the road and you say, dude, we created five turnovers. Now, he started scrambling around, and we dropped coverage, and we busted a couple coverages, and, they scored some touchdowns. All right, tip your cap, but come on, that's on us. They didn't beat us. We beat ourselves there, right? And so you say, we created 5 turnovers. We had over 200 yards rushing. We possessed the ball for 36 minutes. We lost our starting quarterback and did that with our backup quarterback 11 plays into the game. I think if you're Philadelphia, you walk away from that going, man, well, maybe we won't get the 1 seed, but we're still the best team in the NFL. I don't think you look at that, Mike, and you go, oh, shoot, what are we going to do? I mean, if anything, it's a chance for Nick Sirianni and his staff to really coach you hard. Here's some of the mistakes we've been making the last several weeks on this 10-game win streak we've had. So oftentimes in those win streaks, you're not coaching your team as hard. So you get to go back to the drawing board after a loss and really coach them hard. But I think you still walk out of that going, we dominated that game and we lost. We're okay.
Mark, are the Minnesota Vikings the most disrespected, overlooked 13-2 team you've ever come across?
If they're not, they're right up there in the conversation, right? I mean,
13-2.
Yeah, 13-2. They were supposed to. I think their over under was maybe 6.5, Mike, on the season. I mean, it's unbelievable. The resurrection project of how Sam Darnold has just resurrected his career is one of the cool things you will ever see. And then ultimately, defensively, they're going to blitz you. They're going to come with pressure. Brian Flores, that's what he does. They're great at it. So that's pretty cool. But when you have Addison, when you have Justin Jefferson, when you have TJ Hawkinson, when you have Aaron Jones, you have a good offensive line, and you got a quarterback playing at an incredibly high level, 3 touchdowns last week, no interceptions once again, on the road in a tough place to play, a tough environment with the Seattle Seahawks. That's a big-time performance by Sam Darnold. He just continues to impress. And listen, I know we don't talk about guys like Joe Burrow for MVP. We're not going to talk about Sam Darnold for MVP. How about comeback player of the year? I know it usually goes to a guy who's been injured, but come on, man, that's what he's done over the course. Like he was left for dead.
Yep.
And he picks up and goes to San Francisco and goes, I need to learn football. And I haven't had that opportunity at the Jets and at Carolina. And for him to do that and say, hey, man, you got more opportunities elsewhere, more money elsewhere, chance to start and compete elsewhere. And he goes, no. I want to go be Purdy's backup so I can really learn from Kyle Shanahan. Just absolutely phenomenal. And let's face it, has Kevin O'Connell become – is he coach of the year? He's got to be the coach of the year, right?
Got to be.
Good good for Minnesota, man. Good for them.
So speaking of San Francisco, real quick, they got eliminated from playoff contention. What's next for the 49ers?
Listen, they had so many injuries over the course of this season. They battled the injury bug throughout the entirety of the season. I don't even think that's what derailed them, Mike. I really don't. I think there was some dissension. I think there was some things that just didn't feel right to me. I didn't do a San Francisco game this year, so that was kind of odd for me because I usually do 2 or 3 of them. But it didn't feel right, man. It felt like Debo fighting with his deep snapper and his kicker, then, going out and dropping multiple balls and not having a great season and not scoring touchdowns. And I just felt like they were off all season long. So it is time to reevaluate kind of where we are, who's in it, who's committed, who's not. And I wouldn't be surprised, and I don't know about you, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them move off Debo this offseason. As good a teammate or as good as player as he is, I wouldn't be surprised to see them say, hey, man, Debo really didn't want to be here. He really wasn't locked in this year. He really was kind of a distraction. And just knowing the Shanahans the way I know them, knowing Mike Shanahan the way I know him, knowing Kyle the way I know him, they're going to address some of those issues that happened over the course of this season. And I wouldn't be surprised at all to see, a slightly different roster construction coming into next season.
All right, you ready for our picks?
I am. Last week, by the way, you went 1-1-1.
Yeah.
That's a great week for you, Mike.
That's my year right there.
Yeah.
That's my year. 1-1-1. That tells the story right there.
1-1-1. It was inexplicable. I was 1-2 because of the Philly, the Philly debacle. I looked up, I'm calling the game, and there's a TV that has like stats and the games that are going on like over to the left of my play-by-play guy, Chris Myers. And I glanced over there early in the broadcast in the first quarter, and I think Philadelphia was up 14 or 17 to nothing or something like that. And I was like, championship, got it. And then I really never paid attention again. I was like locked into our game, went into overtime and everything else. And then all of a sudden Washington wins. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, right? So I should have been 2-1. And ended up 1-2 last week. So
remember,
it's not good.
You've clinched the regular season title. Good, congratulations for you. I concede you've clinched. Awesome. But hey, winning time's coming up. It's the playoffs, and I'm going to press. And we'll see if you can back it up, or if you're just the Lamar Jackson of picking games.
Yeah, we're gonna see. By the way, I think I'm only 5 games ahead of you in the win column.
Oh, so you haven't officially clinched yet?
No, but the lot. Well, maybe I'm 5. I know I'm 5. I'm pretty sure I'm 5 games ahead of you in the win column. I think you have 25 wins. I have 30.
All right, so I have to go 6-0, and you have to go 0-6.
Yes. And it's not going to happen. I picked first, so let me start.
So you're telling me there's a chance.
There is a chance.
Right,
I'm going to pick first because I need a Christmas miracle. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pick the games on Christmas Day, Mike Evans.
Okay.
Christmas miracle. I've got the Chiefs giving up 2.5 to Pittsburgh. They still need that number 1 seed. They rest players week 18. I'm going the Chiefs minus 2.5 over the Steelers. Then I'm going to stay on Christmas Day. The Ravens, they looked mighty last week against those Steelers. The Ravens minus 4 over the Texans. Emotional distraught over the loss of Tank Dell in that game. Devastating knee injury. I'm taking the Ravens to continue to do what they do. I think they beat the Texans minus 4. I'm giving the points. And then lastly, the Rams take on division rival Arizona. Arizona choked away in Carolina. They are out of the playoffs. The Rams still fighting for that division crown. The Rams minus 6 over Arizona. Hey, in that Arizona game, James Conner got hurt. He hurt a knee. I don't think he's going to play. He's the heart and soul of that football team. I like the Rams to beat Arizona by more than a touchdown.
Well, just in case you stumble, I gotta go 3-0. So let's see if this is a 3-0. I'm gonna go opposite with you. I think this is a circle the wagons type game for Pittsburgh. I think they're going to be the hungrier team, the more desperate team. I'm going to take Pittsburgh plus the 2.5 over KC. I'm going to take Tampa Bay. They really gagged one away in Dallas. I think they bounce back. Carolina will be happy with the win they got in front of Mark Schlereth. So I'll take Tampa Bay minus the 8 over the Panthers. And then I'll take Detroit. I don't think they're going to let up. Little revenge for the NFC Championship game. I'll take Detroit minus 3.5. At San Francisco. 3-0? Is that 3-0?
No, because you're going against me. So that's one loss right there, the Pittsburgh Kansas City game. Hey, man, Tampa and Carolina played a couple weeks ago. I called that game. They played into overtime. Tampa got away with a field goal win. Carolina's starting to play well right now. So now they're not really. I'll give you that one. I'll give you the Detroit one. You're 2-1 this week.
2-1? Okay, well.
But I'm 3-0, so all right, it's officially over.
I just got to gain some momentum for the playoffs. That's all I got to do. So,
hey, guys, for everybody involved in the Stinkin Truth podcast, for Mike, myself, thank you so much for making us a part of your week. And Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Hanukkah, whatever it is you celebrate, man. Just have a blessed holiday season, and we'll talk to you guys next week after this week's games. Mike, take care, buddy. Merry Christmas.
You got it. You too, pal.